Hello and welcome to another midnight showing. As always, I'm Kelly, and I just got out of TED 2. So, yeah, I'm not going to do my jump cut thing. I got finished with other projects, which will be coming soon if they aren't already out on the channel by the time this video comes out. But, yeah, so TED 2. Non-spoiler version, it gets a watch at your own risk because, yeah, some of this movie worked. A lot of it didn't. Majority of this movie didn't work, but the parts that did work had me literally on the floor laughing. And that's why I say watch at your own risk rather than giving it an honest to God skip it. Because, well, my opinion of the first one is I liked it. It was good. It was funny. It wasn't necessarily about Ted. It was more about Mark Wahlberg and Mila Kunis and their relationship and how Ted affects that relationship, which that's perfectly fine. It was kind of new. It was inventive, and there was actually it took itself seriously at moments when it needed to take itself seriously. That's that's my opinion of Ted. It was good. It was funny. It had its moments. It also had some really crappy ones too. Let's be honest. Was there a point to having the singer chick inside there, whatever her name was? Really? But again, that's my opinions on Ted 2. Or Ted 1. Ted 2 is like a cross between Ted 1 and A Million Ways to Die in the West. And A Million Ways to Die in the West didn't take itself seriously at all. It was just a bunch of random scenes put together and crappy CGI sheep dicks. Because. And, yeah. We'll not talk about A Million Ways to Die in the West if we can avoid it. But Ted 2 is basically a cross between those two movies. It takes itself seriously at moments, but the majority of the film is just a cobbled together segment of scenes that don't really mesh together. Now, as I said, there are moments of this that did work, and those moments generally for the most part happen when Mark Wahlberg and Ted are just left in a room together because Seth MacFarlane and Mark Wahlberg have great chemistry with each other. They play off of each other's jokes just so goddamn well. It's not even. It doesn't feel like they're rehearsing lines or doing a shtick. No, it feels like it's two guys who are legitimate friends who know each other well enough to literally guess what the other's about to say and play off of it perfectly. Those two are where the good comedy comes from most of the time. But as I said, there's a lot that just didn't work inside of this. And yeah, so going into the spoiler section, if you for those who want to stay for it, this movie has no idea what it's about. Okay? The first part of the movie isn't even funny. There's no jokes inside of it. They try to throw in a joke at the end of it that just doesn't work at all. But it opens up with Ted and Tammy Lynn, something like that. Them getting married finally. They get married, and then it cuts to 1 year later, and they're fighting. We see them fighting about bills and steak and just random shit that doesn't make any sense if you remember anything from the first movie, okay? Apparently they're both still cashiers over at the Paycole shopping mart, whatever, where Ted got his first job. Okay, fair enough for keeping continuity of where they work. But wasn't Ted promoted to store manager by the end of that movie? What the fuck is he still doing on a cash register? And just they don't make enough money. They're smacking at each other, and he gets advice from the stereotypical fat black chick that if they have a baby, it'll fix their marriage. So they decide to have a baby. Well, first they try in vitro fertilization, which the payoff of it, you should have been able to guess this from like 5 seconds in, that it's not going to work. But no, they spend 20 minutes or so trying to collect various people's sperm to donate into it, in which Mark Wahlberg ends up just giving his to it, and which we all knew that's where it was going to go anyway. But they try Flash Gordon first, and then they try, I think it was Peyton Manning. No, it wasn't him. It was a football player who I don't give a shit because I don't watch football. Okay, I don't give a crap about sports unless I'm actually at a game. I don't care. I'm not going to watch it on TV unless it's the Super Bowl, and mostly I just watch that for the commercials and the halftime show, where I get to see shark people die. But it's just whatever. They go through a bunch of annex, again, just scene after scene after scene that you could cobble together in any order, and it would make sense. There's no consistency about it. It's the Million Ways to Die in the West type of storytelling. It's, hey, we're in a new scene, we're going to start up another joke and go on for that joke for about 5 minutes or so. Then we're going to end with an abrupt line like, hey, you're racist, and cut away and go into another scene. You could mix that scene with another one of the scenes inside this movie, and you wouldn't miss anything. Give Seth MacFarlane an editor, please. Don't let him edit. He can direct, even write, but give him someone who knows how to edit these so that the punchlines actually hit. And a lot of these jokes just fall flat. Really flat. The only times that they don't fall flat are when they let the scenes play out a little bit. And you get, again, Mark Wahlberg and Seth MacFarlane as Ted just having their back and forth with each other. And really just treating each other like shit. Their bromance kind of reminds me of the bromance from Entourage, which I also saw recently. And if you like these characters, you will like this movie. Because it's just quite clear that they know how to mesh with each other, they know how to play off of each other, they know how to dick with each other, they know how to just be friends. You know, that's perfectly fine. But it just doesn't work in so many ways. Going on with the story, so the reason why the in vitro fertilization doesn't work is because apparently Tammy Lynn's done so many drugs, her ovaries are complete crap. So they try to go and adopt. But they can't adopt because Ted is legally, technically not a person. He's property. And because, nobody would have thought to think about this when a talking bear came about. But because they tried to apply for an adoption, now all the red flags are coming up, and everybody is suddenly realizing, hey, why did we give Ted credit cards, bank accounts, a job, marriage license, rewards card? Why? And everybody is revoking it. Revoking everything that says, and turning his life into hell. So now they have to go on this big old escapade to prove that he's a real person. Again, consistency. This was about adopting a child, wasn't it? No, it's about proving Ted's a real person. Okay. And it just moves like that. It's a Family Guy episode. It's a 2-hour Family Guy episode. Family Guy episode opens up with the whole family going on a Family Feud, and then that's 5 minutes of the episode, and by the end of it, all of a sudden we're running from terrorists in Afghanistan. That's a Family Guy episode, and that's what all this is 2 hours of a okay Family Guy episode. Because, as I said, the beginning is actually really, really funny, and there's a really good moment with Mark Wahlberg and Ted at his apartment when Ted tries to borrow Mark Wahlberg's computer. It's fucking hilarious, and if you can just find that scene alone, that's all you need. That's all you need. That's the best part of this movie, and then you can walk out. But the rest of it is hit or miss jokes. Occasionally, I got a chuckle, I got a laugh. I was smiling at parts because mostly the music was awesome. The music really was. Seth MacFarlane has good taste in music. He can sing, and he can even write. Fair enough. He's just really bad at this editing thing. Just a bunch of gag things that don't make any sense whatsoever. And by God, the worst one is after they lose the initial trial. Oh, they go to seek help in New York from this other lawyer played by Morgan Freeman. And yes, they made about 5 jokes about his voice. It's Morgan Freeman. We get it. Move on, please. But there's one moment where Ted crashes the car and gets it stuck inside of a barn. Literally, like, 2-story high inside of the wall. How the wood held up a car, I don't... It falls apart by the end of this sequence anyway, so why the hell did it stay there? Not what I'm focusing on. Anyway, they decide to camp out for the night, and what is it they actually crash into? A pot farm. And they start playing the Jurassic Park theme as all 3 of them, who are all potheads, including Amanda Seyfried. I should probably talk about her. Let me finish the scene. But, they're all potheads, and they're, like, looking on the field while the Jurassic Park theme plays. It's beautiful. They just start ripping off the scene where they're looking at all the dinosaurs for the first time. They move in herds. They do move in herds. And it's just... Why? Because Jurassic World came out? Why? This has nothing to do with anything. I just wish that Jim Carrey would come in here from the Truman Show and just say, who are you talking to? What is happening here? Because it just, nothing made sense at all. The whole pot farm, you're looking at fucking pot, okay? Oh, cool. It's a pot farm. You know, I could go down to Vegas and find this in some guy's basement. It's not as magical as you think, okay? It's pretty fucking stupid. It is so fucking stupid. And then they just end up smoking weed. It's 90% of their actions in this movie when they're not doing some of these movement bits about the trial or anything like that. No, they're smoking pot. And it's not even funny. In the first movie, it felt like 2 guys who grew up together, and this is how they hang out. In this movie, they smoke pot because they smoked pot in the first movie, and they need a lot more pot jokes. There's so many pot jokes in this movie, it's not even funny. And tying it back into my earlier thought about talking about Amanda Seyfried, her character is the one that just always has a pot bong. It's so stupid. Okay, Amanda Seyfried plays the lawyer who's defending Ted initially, who botches the first trial. Not by her choice, it's just more by the bad writing of Seth MacFarlane that Ted loses. Because, frankly speaking, there's no reason why he shouldn't have lost that trial. Oh, he has a voice thing in his stomach that wasn't in there in the first movie. Yeah, they tore him open, remember? You gotta see all that. He didn't have a voice box thingy inside of him. But in the second movie, I love you. It's there, and he loses because of that. But Amanda Seyfried is the lawyer who's defending them, and she's the romantic interest with Mark Wahlberg. Because Mila Kunis, I don't know, had a fight with the director, was too busy with Jupiter Ascending. I don't know, okay? But they wrote her off. It's burnt Phil territory. It's Paul Blart Mall Cop, for God's sake. It's just they burnt this relationship that they spent the entire movie building. Why? Because Mila Kunis couldn't come back? Couldn't she just have written a reason why she wasn't in the movie or something? Hell, why not have it say that she died and they had a good 6 years and he's just not ready to get back in the game. Now, no, he was with her for 6 years and he said, oh, fuck it, I don't want to do this because I don't want to change anymore. And, which, the whole first movie was about her loving him for being him. And she didn't want to change him. Come on, consistency, guys! But yeah, they got rid of her and now Amanda Seyfried's got to take the place. And she is a new junior lawyer at this firm who's taking their case pro bono because her uncle who owns the company told her to. But, yeah, she just randomly pulls out a bong every 5 minutes and starts... Why? Fucking why? And it's not funny. It's not funny. She plays off these antics very well, and Amanda Seyfried is giving 120%. But yeah, the problem is these jokes aren't funny. They're not. She can play. She can get into this group and play off of them very, very well, and do some of these fast-paced, quick back and forth between her, Mark Wahlberg, and Seth MacFarlane, and be pretty and try to be pretty funny. But the problem is the material she's being told to spout isn't funny at all, and I mean that at all. It doesn't. It's so yeah. Going on with the story, after they bomb the first one, they go to New York to find Morgan Freeman, but he ends up turning him down because he doesn't think Ted has impacted anyone's life enough to be worth calling more than property. Okay, so then Ted and Mark Wahlberg have a falling out, just like in the last movie, where they don't actually fight, which I think was a really, really dumb thing to have, because that fight scene in the first one was fucking hilarious when they're just throwing shit at each other and throwing each other into the walls and knocking TVs into them, and just this horribly choreographed thing of two drunk dudes going at it. That was funny in the first movie. In this one, they just, I hate you, leave me alone, and runs off. Okay, so Ted ends up in Comic-Con, New York, where probably the funniest joke in the last 2/3 of the movie happens, where you have the guy who played the Tick and the guy who played Worf from Star Trek dressed as the Tick and Worf in really, really bad cosplay. I mean, if they had been in their actual costumes from the shows, that would have been even more hilarious. But no, they are just in really bad cosplays. I was the only one who got that joke and laughed at it in my theater. My theater was about half full, and I'm the only guy that got that joke. Okay? That was funny. That was clever. And they'd been introduced several times in this movie before. So, yeah. That's funny. What wasn't funny was them beating up on the nerds every 5 seconds whenever they showed up inside the background of the Comic-Con. Seriously, as Ted's like running around the Comic-Con, they're just there. Hey, we're here. Hey, nerd. Wedgie! Get out of there. Oh no, my hands are covered in shit now. And it's, shut the fuck up. Your joke is over. Leave. And even when the nerds that they're picking on get their revenge in the Comic-Con brawl, which that was kind of funny just because you have a bunch of cosplayers in various costumes acting like their characters as they beat the living shit out of each other. You've got Doc Brown fighting Marty McFly. You've got She-Hulk versus Supergirl. You've got Super Saiyan Goku versus, I think it was supposed to be Psylocke from the X-Men. And you've got Flash Gordon beating the living shit out of Mark Wahlberg. I mean, that part was kind of funny. But again, they're there and they're doing their thing. And when they get the comeuppance from the four nerds they picked on earlier in the movie, who cares? I'm more interested in Psylocke versus Goku. Can you cut back to that, please? It's just, it's there. But yeah, once he gets there, it turns out that the real reason why they lost the case is because Donnie from the first movie was working at Hasbro, who apparently made the toy of Ted, and he thinks that if he can get his hands on him, he can cut him open, finds out what makes him alive, and they can mass produce it and make tons of money. So he makes a backdoor deal with the Hasbro guy. So he has to capture him again, which just... Mark Wahlberg literally turns to the camera and says, "Deja vu, we're doing this again." Really? Fucking really? That's not funny, okay? It's not. It's pretty sad when you start literally pointing out that it's the exact same goddamn movie. Let me compare this to another joke that Seth MacFarlane made. Inside of, I believe it was It's a Trap, the last of the Star Wars parodies that he did. But when they're all sitting inside of the conference room, going over the plans of the Death Star, talking about how they're going to do it, and Peter Griffin's just like, so we're just basically going to do the exact same thing we did last time, except there's a nice big hole that leads us straight to the core this time? Okay. That was funny because it was parodying Star Wars and making fun of the fact that, yeah, the entire climax of the third movie is the first movie done again. Done over again. It's plot point for plot point the first movie again. That was funny. Pointing out that you are so lazy at writing that you can't come up with a second climax to your comedy film other than just shoehorn in Donnie again and have him be obsessed with Ted again and try to make him... What the fuck happened to his son? Yeah, his son's nowhere in this movie. Far be it from me to say, bring him back, but wasn't that the whole point of getting Ted, was to give him to your son? In this movie, it's just so he can get, he'll make him his own Ted, and blah-de-blah-de-blah. It just, for fuck's sake, really, it's so stupid. It really is. But Amanda Seyfried and Mark Wahlberg find them and punch Donnie, take Ted back, and when they're leaving the convention, Donnie launches the USS Enterprise into originally Ted, but Mark Wahlberg pushes him out of the way, sending him flying into a Halo screen. Yeah, the product placement inside of this is pretty bad. But at the same time, they're at Comic-Con. I have no doubt that this exists there, that this is what it's like. And yeah, the lawyer sees everything that happened on TV and says, you did impact this guy's life so much, so now I'll take your case. And then they go to take it to an appeals court and take it, and Ted wins, now he's a person, blah-de-blah-de-blah, happy ever after. It's a dumb fucking movie. And as I said, watch at your own risk, because the first 20 minutes or so is pretty entertaining and funny. There were some good jokes spliced here and there, but again, they're so sporadic that most of these jokes do bomb. The majority of this movie sucks. But I went out with a smile on my face, so I can honestly say, yeah, I could recommend this to somebody who did like the first movie. If you like the first movie, if you like some of the stupid antics that they get themselves in, there were a few more that went into this. Comparing it to another comedy release this year, Dumb and Dumber 2. Dumb and Dumber 2 is not nearly as bad as critics or anybody says. Because, let's face it, the first one was just like that. The problem is that everyone's been copying the first one for so long that now that you repeat it inside of a sequel, no one gives a shit. Ted is much the same way. This sequel was farted out. It really was. It didn't have nearly the amount of effort that went into the first one put into it. Because the first one had an actual plot. This one has a segment of things that happen. And it just didn't work. Oh, and one other thing I should probably talk about, which I kind of glanced over. There is so many fucking cameos in this movie. It's not even funny. Okay? The first one they made with Jay Leno was pretty funny. It felt like one of those Family Guy cutaway things that just always worked. Jay Leno's inside of the bathroom having gay sex with people. Okay. And he just comes out as Mark Wahlberg tells him, get the fuck out, I don't want to touch you. He's like, oh, so whatever. And that was actually kind of funny because I wasn't expecting Jay Leno to show up. But then literally the next scene, Ted's at work and fucking Liam Neeson shows up buying a Trix and talking about how tricks are for kids and he's not going to get in trouble if he buys it. It's like that's one of those out of left field nowhere that doesn't make any sense. And they just keep popping up. cameo after cameo after cameo after cameo. It doesn't make any sense why these people are in this movie at all. And the one that just made me smack my head against the seat in front of me was when Saturday Night Live showed up. Yeah, there's a point where they're making fun of the fact that the trial's going on, and they have a bunch of news organizations covering the story, and they got the actual people from MSNBC to do themselves and talk about it on the MSNBC banners and whatnot, and then they got just a bunch of really crappy look-alike actors who are supposed to play the Fox News people and make a very bad political joke because... Alright, that joke in there is proof that Seth MacFarlane hasn't watched Fox News, and he's just making a Fox News joke because people make Fox News jokes and they're funny. Blah. Fuck you, Seth MacFarlane. Okay? If you're gonna make fun of something, actually make fun of something. Do research on it. You did with fucking Goku inside of the cosplay battle, who's actually acting like fucking Goku! Come on! You know more about Goku than you do Fox News? Am I just... Yeah. But going on with those little parodies, if you can even call them that, Saturday Night Live actually shows up. The actual people from the current Saturday Night Live. You know, the unfunny people who just make really, really crappy sketches? Okay. I should probably state that Saturday Night Live can make funny things. And a lot of their skits do run too long because they actually have a time limit on these skits that they have to fill. And some of these skits have to last 10, 15 minutes of an hour length when these skits should have been 5 and they would have been better. But they're making fun of Ted's trial by throwing in a period joke. The fuck does that have to do with the trial? And it's the actual people from Saturday Night Live, and I'm pretty sure they actually wrote this part. Because, frankly speaking, it is fucking stupid. It really is. And it's demeaning of a good show that brought us 90% of our comedy actors. I'm not even exaggerating that. Cameos just come so far out of left field that they don't fit. You didn't need Saturday Night Live to do a skit for you in the middle of your movie. You didn't need to cut to Fox News when you already had the people from MSNBC doing the jokes for you. And then you just have random walk-ins like Liam Neeson and fucking, there was another one near the end. What was his name? God damn it. I can't even think of it. I blocked it out of my memory. That's how bad it was. It just... so much that didn't need to be in here. And I'm probably making this movie sound a lot worse than it is. Because as I said, the first 20 minutes or so is really funny. It had me on the floor laughing. And I left with a smile on my face. There's just so many problems I could bitch about this film that it's just... Seth MacFarlane, you are better than this. You can write funny movies. You can make funny commentaries. You can write good songs. In many ways, Seth MacFarlane to me has turned into Gene Kelly. And for those who don't know him, he's the main star from Singing in the Rain. And when you actually hear about all of the background stuff with Gene Kelly, how specific he wanted every single movement of his dance, that he had to turn the line like this, you had to be focusing on this part, you swear to God that he was directing 90% of the films he was just starring in. That is who Seth MacFarlane is, trying to emulate in many ways. He's trying to make him out like he's the most talented, best person ever. That he can do this so much better than you. And at moments, he can. Ted 2 was not that moment. Family Guy from 2008 to current, not the moment. You can be funny, MacFarlane. You can. You can do stuff you can do cutaways, and it's perfectly fine. You can make them work. You've done it before. The problem is that you've been doing it for so long that it feels like you've given up. It really does. But you're still trying to beat anybody who tells you that you're not the best into submission like some washout. Come on, man. You're better than this. You can do better than this. Overall, Ted 2 was a big disappointment. It really was. And I say watch at your own risk because as much as I didn't like a lot of the lighter jokes, people behind me were laughing a lot. I'm pretty sure that a lot of them were high off their ass, though. So making the pot jokes just helped so much. So yeah, that's it for me. Did you like what you saw here? Do you agree with me? Leave your comments in the leave your thoughts in the comments below, and tell me what you thought about the movie. Maybe we'll get some healthy discussion going here. If you want to see more, go ahead and check out my channel. I should have a link up in that corner for the channel itself and a subscribe button. If you want to see more of the Midnight Showings, I should have some more linked right down here. And I guess I will see you all next time.